everyone, welcome back to Body Haven Soaps. On today's video we are going to go over making bath melts and how I formulated my bath melts and why I formulated my bath melts this way. Now there's many different ways that bath melts can be created. Some will have baking soda and citric acid and things like that. I do mine a little bit different than that because I do use these for an embed in my bath bombs. Just to make that more luxurious bath bomb. In some of them, it's not in all my bath bombs. I do use this. Sometimes I will infuse my butters and stuff with herbs and extracts from herbs, and then I use that as my core for my bath bombs. But I don't put baking soda and citric acid in it because you can't have that two-layered bath bomb which has the baking soda and and the baking soda and the citric acid in it. So there is no reaction from this center. It is just simply there to add the extra luxury oils to the bath bomb. So there is none of the fizzing action, anything like that from this. Now, if you're making the bath melts specifically because they were to be sold individually, which at this point I don't do, you could make the bath melt and add your baking soda and citric acid and that stuff to it, and that'd be perfectly fine. But because I use this for multiple different things, I don't do that. I make some round ones like this in these style of molds that I have here. And that would be what I use in the center of my bath bombs, just as that little oil pack or butter pack in the center of my bath bombs. I also will use these round bath melts for when I make my clam bath bombs, because I use those as the little pearl inside the clam bath bombs. I make them in these little embed trays. But I don't use this size for in my bath bombs. You absolutely could. But what I use it in, this is my bubbling bath salts in this package here. And so I don't have bath melt in this one specifically, this type that I made here. This is a bubbling bath salts, but I make different packages like this, and sometimes I will take the little bath melts that I make in this and put them in with the mixture, so you have, you know, the little confetti like thing going on with a higher oil content and stuff, and you're still able to get stuff to dry. So the whole purpose is I really like a lot of the butters and stuff in my bath. And yeah, I could use a bath melt and that kind of stuff, absolutely. But I really like bath bombs, and I really like, you know, bubbling bath salts and things like that. And I like to change things up. So if I can integrate the little bit of bath melts throughout my products, my customers get a way more luxurious product. I get a way more luxurious product. And I just feel that butters and oils have so many great things to bring to the skin, so that's why I do it. But like I say, I do have another formulation that I used to do. I don't really do it anymore with the baking soda, just to make single bath melts. If you are looking at that type of bath melt and you're interested in that, maybe comment below and I can do a video on that. I used to make them a long time ago. I do have the formula for that, but I just don't find that I have enough consumers to be making them consistently. Sometimes I do gift packs. I might make that recipe to put individual things in the gift pack, that kind of stuff, but that's about all I do for the bath melts. This here I do for additions into my stuff, okay? But you could do this simply as a bath melt just like this as well. Okay, so let's get into it. I'll just move the camera and we'll start going over our ingredients. Okay, so now we got the camera moved. We're just putting on some gloves here. Everything is sanitized and clean because I do sell these products. I have my double boiler set up over here. I prefer when I'm working with butters, things are a little bit more sensitive to temperature. As you guys have probably noticed in previous videos, I prefer a double boiler method rather than a microwave or anything like that. But you could absolutely do this in the microwave. Just do it on little 30-second bursts. Do not overheat your oils. Shea butter can get very grainy, but this is going to melt in a bathtub anyways. But in saying that, I mean, it breaks down the properties of the oil and what we're actually, and the butters, and what we're actually trying to bring to this recipe. Okay, so first off, this is a really simple recipe, you guys. It's pretty straightforward, and you could exchange some of the butters as long as you make sure you have those hard butters. But when we put oils and stuff like that into a bathtub, obviously we want to use an emulsifying wax, and you could use multiple different emulsifying wax, but because this goes into a bathtub and it's not directly on the skin, I just use a simple e-wax. Okay, so just your emulsifying wax NF is what I'm using. Okay, but what happens is that when these bath melts melt into the tub, the oil floats on the surface of the skin without an emulsifier. And then your tub just turns into this dangerous, slick mess that you've got to be really careful to get in and out of. All of my products, my grandkids use these. You know, we've got to make sure that obviously the water is emulsifying the oils, and with the emulsifier, your skin will actually be able to absorb a lot more of the properties when it's emulsified throughout your water rather than this layer and it's just kind of, you know, the top part of the skin. If it's emulsified and it's in the tub, you get that nice silky feeling all over your skin. So we want to make sure, for safety reasons, we're using an emulsifier. If you are putting essential oils or fragrance oils in these, you need to have something that's going to emulsify those really strong essential oils and things like that. You don't want people getting essential oil burns or anything like that. There is usage rates for it, but if it's a puddle of oil floating on top of the water of essential oil and it's getting directly onto the skin, well, now we have, you know, the dangers of those fragrances and essential oils with direct contact to the skin without being diluted. So if you are going to use any fragrance or anything, once again, you need an emulsifier to make this product safe. So we're going to use, as I said, the emulsifying wax NF, and you can replace this with another emulsifier. I just don't, because it's a bath product. As I said, I'm not going to use the really expensive stuff. You could go with a natural emulsifier. You could change the emulsifier with what suits you. And we have 56 grams of the emulsifying wax. Okay, so just dump that right into the heat-proof container. A glass Pyrex or a heat-safe container for your microwave if you're going to do it in there. I'm doing it on the double boiler, so I just have my stainless steel bowl here. Okay, so that's our emulsifying wax. Everything else I use is butters. Now I use 4 different types of butters, and the reason that I use 4 different types of butters is because of what I'm trying to bring to this recipe. You could go with just, you know, some cocoa butter and some shea butter, and you know, this would work. This would be firm enough that you would be able to chill it and pull it out of the mold, and it would work. Okay. But I add in a couple extra things. So for my hard butters, because we have to have something hard like a cocoa butter, so this holds its shape so that it pops out of the mold and it doesn't just be, you know, when it firms up, you want it to hold its shape. All right. So I am using cocoa butter in my recipe, and the cocoa butter, I'm just using wafers. If you want to make this a cocoa scent, you could use the unrefined cocoa butter wafers, or just chunks of cocoa butter wafers, but I'm using the refined just because I don't want the smell of the coconut or the cocoa in there. Okay, and I am putting in 56 grams of the cocoa butter for one of my hard waxes. Or for one of my hard butters, okay? That's gonna help hold the form of this. The other harder, now it's not as hard as the cocoa wafer. The cocoa wafer is really quite a hard oil. There is other butters that you could use out there that are hard like this, but this is the formula that I come up with and the different ones. Feel free to exchange them. All right. But this is Babasu, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Sorry guys if I'm not. So it is Babasu oil is how I believe it's to be pronounced. And this is a firmer oil, but it's definitely not as hard as a cocoa butter. It's got a firm texture to it, but it's definitely got some give. I can break it simply with pressing on it with my finger, but it is a firmer oil. So I really like it. It really brings a lot to the skin. I love using this in my body butters, anything that goes directly on the skin. This really, really brings a lot to the skin, okay? It's an emollient, so it brings lots of moisture. All of our butters are emollients, okay? And this type of oil also helps with some of the healing properties of inflammation of the skin and stuff. So this is really helpful with people that have eczema, things like that. It's known to help with the itchiness of that, okay? Not making any medical claims here. All right. But I have in here 28 grams. And then, of course, I'm going to have the other two butters that I love so much. Shea butter, okay? Shea butter is another emollient. Really helps soften the skin. And it can also help with inflammation, things like that. But it just gives this product a very nice feel mixed in with these other butters. All right, so shea butter, we also have 28 grams of shea butter. Okay, and then our mango butter. Now, mango butter isn't as soft. As you can see, it's I can break it up and it doesn't mush and stick to my fingers like a shea butter would. Right, with the shea butter, when you mush it up, it smears and sticks to stuff. It's definitely a softer butter. Where the mango butter, it just breaks up into little lumps. It's a little bit firmer. But I use a lot of mango butter. I really like mango butter in my product. They just both have their own little properties to them that bring a lot to a lot of the different things. I find them both very hydrating and nice on the skin now that I smush this all over my gloves. Okay, so it just looks like this. I know it's hard to see because of the light shining in there. But we're just going to set this on our double boiler. We just have this at a very low heat. We don't want to overheat these butters and break down the properties that we're trying to bring to it. We're going to get this onto the double boiler and melt it down. I'm going to stir it every once in a while just to assist with melting this all down. And then I will bring you back once it is completely melted. Okay, so this is completely melted down. I'm going to take a paper towel and just wipe the moisture off the bottom of this to make sure I don't get water in it. Set it on this paper towel. And as you can see, this is all melted. There's no floating particles or anything. I don't know, took, 8 minutes for this. And if you're doing a bigger batch, it may take a little longer. This is a smaller batch for me. Now at this point, this is where you would add in your essential oil or your fragrance oil. In a batch this size, I would do 4 grams. And you would just make sure that it's well blended in with your waxes. Stir this for, minute and a half, 2 minutes. Make sure that it gets the fragrance is bound to the oils and wax in here. And then you could just simply pour it as a clear liquid if you wanted. I am not putting any fragrance in this, but I would, if I was, I would put 4 grams into this batch. You can use essential oils. Now, when I'm talking about this, I'm using it at a 2%. So make sure you double check your fragrances and your essential oils, what their usage rate is. This is to go into a bathtub, so once again, it will get diluted. But I'm not going for high percentages of fragrance. I'm going for that nice, relaxing fragrance, okay? We're not trying to give people headaches with fragrances, and I find in a bath water that is warm, you just don't need high concentrations of fragrance, okay? So anyways, it is done at a 2%, and I find that works well for most of my essential oils and stuff like that. But this is where you would add this in. You could add color in at this point. Now, you could use a mica for this. You could use, you know, your neon powder, which is what I'm going to use in here, as I need to get some purple ones made. So I'm using Party House Purple that I purchased from Voyager Soaps. And this is where I would stir this in. So because this is all wax base, it does take a little bit to stir this in. As you guys can see, it's kind of lumpy. Okay, so you do have to stir for a little bit to get this all mixed in and color these. So you got to stir quite a bit. You could use a little mixer, which I'm probably going to pull out here just to speed this process up. And I can list this down below. I just get this off of Amazon. It's a pretty basic, cheap little hand whizzer that's run on a battery. But it really does speed up the process when I'm mixing different things. Okay, because we don't want big lumps of color. And it's as simple as that. It's all mixed in. And then we're going to grab our molds. So I do have these little ones. Now these are sold. I got these from Fizz Fairy. And they're just little embeds for bath bombs, but they work well for this as well. And I actually find, because I use them for both, that if I'm doing my regular bath bomb recipe as embeds just for color and stuff, I use the exact same recipe that I do for my bath bombs. That now that I've put the oil in here and the butters, it really releases really easy, a lot better than before I had started doing that. You can go on to Amazon and just buy simple little heart-shaped ones. I have hearts and stars and moons and all kinds of things. I think I have small rainbows. There's many different fruit ones. And I would, for when I mix them in my little baggies of confetti-like stuff, if I'm going for a specific theme, you can easily get these off of Amazon. Okay, I don't know if I've ever seen these on Amazon. I can take a look. If I can find them, I can put them in the link below. But I did order these from Fizz Fairy. Okay, these I also ordered off of Amazon, and I kind of like these ones. It's harder to get the fluid in, but they were not that expensive. You can buy the silicone ones, but I find with the silicone ones, when you're trying to push something out that's, you know, this is a little softer by design, they kind of get all mushy and stuff, like they don't hold their shape. With this one, yeah, okay, I have to use a little syringe to get the product in there, but once they're cooled, they actually come apart, so I'm less likely to wreck those little balls and misshape them. So I actually do like these. I can list them down below as well for you. And I simply just have a little syringe like this, and I'll just suck up some of the butters. If it starts to solidify, just put it back over top of your double boiler, but we're just going to this is what they look like. These ones here, it does kind of fill over. Sometimes when you're putting it in here, it'll come out a different hole. But that's okay, because I put this into the freezer. I'll break those parts off. I can remelt them. I can use them in my own tub. I don't get too stressed about that. We got little chunks that kind of spilled. I just keep those, throw them in my own bath. I'm not going to waste it. Right? But I did make all three, so you could see I did sit these in the freezer. You can simply put them in the fridge. Fairly easy. And I've got some nice little balls, and these do float. So when I put them in water, they'll float. So they don't make your bath bombs heavy, anything like that. They melt on skin contact. It's starting to melt in my glove right like that. So as long as I have them there, those will make nice little additions to bath bombs, either as pearls for inside my clams, or I'll put these right in the center of my bath bombs just as a bath melt in there, which we can do. Okay, and then I did make some heart ones just so that I could show you guys. I have, like I said, I have multiple different molds like this. They work pretty good. You can just get these off of Amazon in all kinds of shapes. Obviously, the softer the silicone, the easier it is with something like this that's frozen. But you just pop them all out. And these will go into my confetti bath salts, different things like that. You could just do small ones like this too and put a couple of those in your bath bombs. Bath bomb topper that goes on top works really well. And then these ones here, just simply going to pull the mold a little bit, break some stuff up a little. These pop out of here easier than I would say the regular bath bomb mix does, just because of probably the butters and stuff. But just break it up so it's all separated where there's little joints and stuff. And once again, these are things that I put into my confetti. I just give it a good pull to loosen everything off. And then just pop them up. If you've ever used these, you'll know like the bath bomb mixture is a little harder to get out of these. With these being frozen, I find it works really well. Maybe that's an idea when I'm doing ones with the bath bomb mixture for, say, my cloud bath bombs or stuff like that, is just to All right. And then we have all kinds of squares. These are my main ones that I'll put into my confetti mix with like my bath salts or my bubbling, my bath bomb dust, different things like that, okay? So, got all of our things. You can see, I mean, they're fairly solid. I can feel them get soft as I press on them with my fingers, right? I mean, they did just come out of the freezer, but I will just let these warm up at room temperature now and leave them out overnight just so that there's condensation and moisture from them, and I'll just leave them be. And I use these, as I say, for my embeds, different things like that. You know those old bath beads you used to get? I mean, God, that was when I was a kid years and years and decades ago. But I mean, essentially that's what we're making. It's just not the liquid oil with that skin on it. These work amazing. If you've never tried a bath melt in a bath before, you absolutely have to. So some of my more, like that one there, I won't get too stressed about. That will still fit nice into a bath bomb. There's a couple of the little pieces that didn't quite form all the way. That's okay. I can use those in my own bath, or I can take two of them and put them together. And put that into a bath bomb, right? Set them up. Yeah. In a later video, I will do, I will show you guys my bath melts I do that are just strictly a bath melt. I do them obviously a lot larger than this, and I will put baking soda and citric acid in it. At some point, I will go over that with you. All right, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.